Hello there, Sarah from 17 once again. This is my Thief Master Difficulty video walkthrough. This is Chapter 8, The Dawn's Light. This is the final video of the guide, well, not the full guide. There's still a boss fight after this, but this is the final level of the guide, sorry. The beginning of this level is kind of shitty for various reasons. Mostly, there's those stupid skinny monster dudes that are walking around, and unless you do what I did where you get in front of them, you're waiting forever. And because I got in front of the first one, it means the next one's pattern's all janky, and I sneak up on him and he kind of hears me, and it makes this a lot more complicated and drawn out than it needs to be. All you need to do here, if you're going to follow my strategy, is as soon as he walks away, you're going to drop down, you're going to wait for him to walk back, you're going to mantle back up, and you're going to get past him. You can pass him on this corridor, it's just really difficult to do so, because if you get too close, he'll be alerted and you'll immediately fail. This is literally the only tricky part of this level in my guide, because I had to do this place 3 times, and by the end of my 3rd run through of this level, I was so... I don't really want to say so good like it's this big ego thing, but I knew the level so well that I could fly through the last section of it. And the reason I learnt it so well was because I got stuck for so long. And it all stemmed from the fact that I didn't have a wrench or a rope arrow, and the only choice that was left to me was to navigate a single door that had to be pick-locked, which had a torch above it, torches around it, and 3 people standing next to it. How the hell do you do that? The answer was simple: I couldn't. There was no feasible way of doing it. And I'm quite tempted to put a challenge out there to show people the situation I was in, just to see if anybody can get creative enough to do it. Because it was just stupid. Like, there was no way to do it. Whenever you put the lights out with water arrows, they lit them again. I can't knock people out because it fails the game. I can't be spotted because it fails the game. Like, there was nothing you could do. And I'd ended up saving myself into a corner, and I had to start the level again. And it was just so frustrating, because all I needed was either the wrench, which I thought was an upgrade and thus I couldn't get, or I needed 1 rope arrow. And there's a shop before that area, and I didn't buy a 2nd rope arrow, I just bought 1. And that was my mistake, and it was my mistake, but it effectively made the game impossible. And when I bought that arrow, and I went back through all those areas, I did them super fast, and that 1 arrow turned that room that was hellish into the easiest room in the game. All because of a single arrow. And that is one of the reasons why I think the level design on this game is a little bit lacking on these later stages, just because of that. Like, earlier on in the game, if you didn't have an arrow and you didn't have a wrench, there were still quite a few options available to you, but on that final sequence before the last boss, there literally is no other options. And I think it's a bit unfair on the player, and I think it's a little bit of an oversight, but I'd be curious to hear what the devs think about that section, because I don't think they really planned on people having all the mods on the hardest difficulty without equipment that they think that you'd need. They think you'd know you'd need it as well, because what kind of crazy person puts all the mods on Master and doesn't know how to play the game? You know, not many people do that. And I think it's just a victim of that ignorance, and it's, you know, it's not a negative ignorance, it's just what kind of crazy person would do that. It's just an observation. But now we're through the cave, we're going to be climbing on these lovely blue pipes. I wouldn't say blue vein then, but I don't think Garrett is a gay person. Not that it would bother me if he was, although there was a pretty funny article recently about some dev studio thinks that a gay protagonist in a AAA title is some ways away because they think it would affect the sales, which just goes to show how petty we are as a species. But there's a couple of guys in this next area, and I'm stealth walking over glass like a boss, and this bit is really cool because the pattern just lines itself up for you. There's a ton of guys, it looks like it's going to be really hard, and it's incredibly simple. All you do is you buck and weave around there, and then you start boosting. The guy who wandered off is going to be resting up against a piece of wood up here. Don't know what I'm turning around to look for there for. He's there. He's going to look over there. You can get past him. And then all you have to do now is open the door at the top of here and boost around the boxes. And an entire section is done. And it's simple. So boost to the right. Ignore the people on the left. They will not see you. And all you need to do now is drop down and hit the shop.
Already be on the ship. And they took the gangplank with them.
So this is the last opportunity to use a shop. Buy everything you can that you need. Make sure you have 2 rope arrows. If you do not have 2 rope arrows, you're in trouble. The game even gives you 2 rope arrows here just in case. So it's almost like they knew that that last room was bullshit if you didn't have the wrench or rope arrows. And the funny thing is, there is a rope arrow up here that enables you to get onto this boat from a different vantage point. And when I first played it, that's the angle that I went for, and that was the rope arrow that I wasted. And the irony is, it isn't a better way of getting onto the ship. It's an almost identical way. The only difference is you're 1 floor above, and I don't even need to be 1 floor above. That's the funny part. But the next couple of rooms are going to be really intimidating and really challenging your first few times through them. But if you're following this guide, I've got some fantastic paths, but you have to be fast and you have to do exactly what I say, because they rely on spawns that happen post-checkpoint. Because every enemy in the room starts in a very specific position, and they all have a dialogue, and if you can get to them while they're doing their dialogue, they will not start their path. So you can essentially beat the scripting so that the guards never move. And it's really, really finicky as to if you get spotted, because sometimes you'll get randomly spotted by the lantern guy. If he doesn't get you, someone else will. Be careful on that door, because there's a guy on the other side. I do that because I did it my first time, and it's part of my mantra of doing this level. So hit that door, come all the way down here, and immediately hit the cupboard to get the checkpoint. This checkpoint is what we're going to exploit. So immediately exit and start going to your left. There's going to be a lantern guy. Depending on where he is, depends on where this pattern is. He'll either be all the way across there, or he'll be where he was for me. You want to go straight past here and start boosting into shadow. Boost into shadow, stop just here. He will not see you if you are here, and you can get your boost back so that you can swoop. Start swooping as soon as he turns. Nobody can see you because they're all too busy in their patterns looking the wrong way. If you're a little bit slow or a little bit off, you might get a couple of eyeballs on the screen, but if you do what I just did, one of the hardest rooms in the game is done in seconds. It's a fantastic way through that section, and it's very easy to replicate, so all that's left to be done is to climb up the grapple point and to get to the next room. So the next room is the room in question, the final room of the game before the bosses. My path through it is a pretty easy one, but you have to be careful on this very first sequence, because it all relies on the position of this guy. And it all depends on how fast you can pick locks. I believe on the earlier difficulties you can upgrade, or even on this if you don't have the no upgrade mod on, you can upgrade your lock picking to do it quicker. Because you need to pick this lock before he comes back. If he comes back, he will spot you every time and you'll fail. But as soon as you open the door, go to the left and shut it. Put your body between the door and the opening, because he's going to be really close to you when you open this door. Super close, so you want to hook around the other side of it. When you're out here, you do not have to shoot this light out. I just do it because I've got water arrows to spare, and it's better be safe than sorry. Watch this. You see that? I did not pull my bow back far enough to hit it, and I wasted an arrow. Do not do that, or you'll have to restart the checkpoint. That is the first and only time I've done that in this game, and it stunned me, because it had never happened before, and I wondered what I'd done wrong. But I'm so glad I had a spare rope arrow, else that would have been catastrophic. And I just said you needed 2. You don't need 2, guys. I needed 2 because I fucked up on the first one, so... But look how quick that was. If you've done that room and you've tried to figure it out, it's really tricky. The only other option is a vent in the lower parts, which are really easy to get to, and I think there's something you can trim, but I didn't have those tools at the time, so I didn't use them. So instead, I showed you the way I did it. And the only thing left to do here is we're trying to find Erin. And the game is trying to big up the supernatural theme again, which just doesn't really gel with the plot at all. I don't know. And there's a very specific path through all these rooms and these boxes, and you know you're on the right path because there's no bodies blocking your way. And towards the end of this, the game wants you to get behind Erin and like try and hit her with that piece of Lego that we've been carrying around that everybody thinks is so special. And once you do that, she's gonna move away. There's gonna be a couple of the monster creature things, and then it's just gonna repeat. I thought that this was gonna be the boss fight. I thought it was gonna be this novelty hide and seek thing, and I would have preferred if it was, because the boss fight that's coming, I really didn't like. And if you've got the slow movement modifier on, you're not gonna like it much either, because it makes a boss fight that's already pretty shitty even worse. The thing you need to bear in mind with it though is, if you're in shadow, 90% of the time you're safe. Every so often the game decides to hit you, and it's bullshit, but it happens. I've got video evidence of me getting hit when I shouldn't have been hit. And it's tricky, but I managed to mess it up enough times on my first playthrough that I've got a pretty good path through it, so hopefully you don't have to struggle like I did. But now that we've touched her from behind in a completely inappropriate way, because there was nothing really inappropriate about that, she touches one of the people and they turn into the crazy fingernail guys. And it's a really redundant section because there's a handful of these enemies, but none of them are in your way. None of them are difficult to get past. None of them pose even a remote threat unless you go the wrong way. So it's really baffling. That's me checking to make sure I've got a bottle to throw. Not that I need one. I'm just pedantic like that sometimes. And he heard the swoop. Did you see that? That's proof that every so often these guys will be super attentive. And I'm nervous here that he's going to see me when I go past him because he's already been alerted. And it turns out I was perfectly fine. So there was no problem. But keep on moving. And when you get back into the main chamber, all you have to do is approach Erin. And it was kind of funny when I was recording it, because I tried to go to where the first piece of the boss fight is, and I was trying to cheese the checkpoint. So this is it. I run all the way over here hoping that I'm going to hit an imaginary tripwire and it's going to make the boss fight easier. And then I remember, oh bloody hell, I've got to go and touch her to trigger it, so that was a waste of time. But as soon as you touch her, she's going to knock you back, and then the final boss will begin. And it's not very fun, guys, but hopefully you'll get through it like I did. And yeah, thank you for watching. You take care now.